AutoCAD is a very accurate drafting tool. As you can see with things like Polar and Ortho and Snap and Grid, you can draw very accurately to known points. Everything that you draw has a group of object snaps associated with it. These are known as O-snap. Now you'll notice I've left Polar on down here on the status bar. I always leave Polar on. It's one of the ones that I always use when I'm drawing in AutoCAD all of the time. So Polar and Dynamic, you'll notice, are left on. I'm also going to switch on O-snap. Now, to set your object snap settings, you need to right-click on the O-snap button, and you can switch them on and off here in the list, but you can also use the settings here. So after you've right-clicked on the O-snap button, on the menu there, go to Settings, and it brings up the Drafting Settings dialog box. Object Snap is on. You'll notice Object Snap Tracking is not on yet. We haven't looked at Object Snap Tracking yet. What you do with these object snaps is you switch on the ones that you want to be switched on all of the time. You'll notice I've got endpoint, midpoint, center, intersection and extension switched on all the time. The other object snaps I don't use as much, so we can use another method called override snap, which I'll show you in a minute, to set those up when we need them. So I'll click on OK now. And the good thing is all of those object snaps are always on as long as my O-snap button down here is on in the drafting settings. So I can just right click now, go to recent input, there's a line there. I don't even have to go to the line icon on the ribbon. And I'm going to draw a line, but I'm going to draw a line using object snaps. So if I go here and hover over that line there, can you see there's a midpoint snap? And it sort of snaps to it, it kind of magnetizes to it, which is wonderful. That's a thing called Auto Snap that Autodesk have developed over the years. And the lovely thing is I can hover there and it just snaps automatically. I left click to select that midpoint. If I come down here, or let's say I go over here, endpoint there, but if I come down here, I've got a midpoint there, or I've got an endpoint there. Or I could go to a midpoint on this line maybe. If I go there and click, it goes exactly to that midpoint. I press enter to finish, and there you go. That's how object snaps work. They work very well. They're very quick and easy to use. Now, I've got lots of other snaps switched on, but also lots of other snaps switched off. What I'm going to do now is just pan across slightly, using the pan, remember, on how to use the mouse, and I'm going to draw a circle. So I'm going to go here to the circle, click on the flyout, and what I want here is a center radius. So when I click there like that, I get center radius, and there's the center point for the circle. Now, I'm just going to draw it anywhere over here on the right. So click and just drag that. I'll give it an exact radius of, say, 1.5, because I know that'll fit on the screen quite nicely. Now, if I want to draw from the center point of the circle, let's say, if I go to the line command, I can go there, or, remember, right-click, recent input, line, much quicker. I can hover on the edge of that circle. I don't even have to go into the center to get the center snap. So when I click now, there's my center snap. And I can drag that to an endpoint snap there, click, enter to finish. Not the most perfect looking drawing in the world, but you see how that works. Now, circles also have another type of snap known as a quadrant. Now, I might not have wanted to draw that line from the center snap to that endpoint there. So I'm going to delete that line, and I'm going to use the quadrant snap, but this time I'm going to use my override snap to do it, because quadrant snap isn't switched on in my object snap settings. So I'll right click, recent input, line. Specify first point. I want the quadrant. I want this quadrant here on the left hand corner, so to speak, of the circle. I know that sounds a little bit confusing, but you'll see what I mean in a moment. I'm going to hold down the shift key on the keyboard and right click on the mouse. And there is my shortcut override object snap menu. Quadrant is just there. Click on quadrant. There's my quadrant snap. Even though it's not part of my object snap settings, it's an override snap. I click there, go to the endpoint there, enter to finish, and I've drawn it slightly differently. So that's how useful those object snaps are. They are so important to draw accurately. So you'll notice now I've left object snaps on with the set object snaps that I've ticked in the box, and I will use those constantly as I draw in AutoCAD Electrical.